Okay. Okay. So I was very fortunate a few years ago to be involved with a study. Dr. Kulri Chowdhury, who's in the center of this picture, um, was treating people from all over the world with some serious illnesses. And she was utilizing, she's a neurologist in the San Diego area, and she also practices Ayurveda. And so she was treating these people, and a lot of them were getting much better, but some of them reach a plateau. And so we decided to do a study together, about 30 patients, and we introduced Vastu remedies and Jyotish remedies as well. I would look at their charts. I would go to their apartment or their house or and do the remedies. And in the back, we got to present this on Dr. Oz, who was not familiar with Vastu at the time. And in the background, you can see a floor plan of a house with each of the 5 elements represented: air in the northwest, water in the northeast, fire in the southeast, and earth in the southwest. The very center is the space element. Let's see here. Why is this not? And so this is just a diagram showing that if you divided your house or your apartment into 4 quadrants, each of those quadrants would be associated with one of the 5 elements, and each of those 5 elements affects some aspect of your life. And for example, in the Northwest is associated with the air element, and the air element affects our mind. Many of you are familiar with pranayama. We can change the whole way we think or feel just by doing nadi shodhana or different breathing exercises, balancing the left and the right hemisphere of the brain. When the air element is out of balance for some reason, then our thinking is not as harmonious as it could be. Our speech is not as harmonious, and our actions are not as harmonious. So what it ends up affecting is our relationships. There's some stress in our relationships. In the northeast area of your house, it's associated with the water element and growth, spiritual growth, material growth. Most people experience it in terms of their finances. Maybe there's some issue with the finances. The southeast area of the house is associated with Agni, the fire element. And this affects our health directly. It affects our energy level, our prana level, and whether we're tired all the time or not getting enough rest, and ultimately affects different types of health issues. The southwest area of the house is associated with support in terms of your physical structure, and in terms of whether you're getting support in your career, how you support your family and yourself. And the very center of your residence is this associated with the space element. And because earth, water, fire, and air come out of space, space is the mother of the other 4 elements. Any disturbance there, imbalances, maybe a toilet or central heating, that can disturb every area of your life. Now, why am I talking about this in relationship to cancer? Well, if we have stress in any area of your life, that contributes to some stress impact on your health, and ultimately it can be any sort of illness, including cancer. So you can also divide your house or your residence into 9 equal squares. And you see, if you look at Vastu, there would be an image of a person in the structure of your house, and the house is divided into these 9 equal squares. Each of those squares, directional squares, is related not only to an element, but also a dosha type, and a planet. And this is the intersection of Vastu, Ayurveda, and Jyotish. Um, and over the years, over the last 60 years of doing different Vastu for different people, I've created a chronology of different imbalances in different parts of the house that contribute to different types of illnesses. And it's usually not just one thing. It may be a combination of an imbalance in one part of the house and an imbalance in another part of the house. But the Northwest, again, air element, it's related to the Vata dosha and the planet Moon. And different types of illness, breast cancer, lymphoma, and the types of imbalances that are caused can be by a missing corner or what we call cuts, clutter, things that aren't organized. And I also throw in here a gross kind of remedy, something that's related to air, like chimes, hanging chimes. Now, these are really gross types of remedies and more can be associated with feng shui. Now, feng shui and Vastu are related in that Vastu is about 10,000 years ago old, and about 3,000 years ago, the science of Vastu was carried over the mountains from India to China and was adapted to the local cultural and climatic conditions at the time, and became known as feng shui. So Vastu and feng shui have in common, they want to move any energy that gets stuck, because stuck energy in our physical body and our environment creates stress that it can impact our health, cancer, etc. So they just go about it a little differently. I've practiced both feng shui and Vastu and found quicker, more lasting results with Vastu. Uh, so, and in fact, some of the tenets of Vastu got changed when it was adapted to the local conditions in China at the time. There were some red sandstorms coming from the east and some invasions from the Mongols in the north. And so Vastu wants to orient buildings to receive the solar energy from the east and the magnetic energy from the north. And some of that got turned around by the issues that were happening in China at that period. Okay, so just move on north, associated with air and water, the planet Mercury, different types of cancer, skin, thyroid, lung, TB, cancers, and the things that can cause an imbalance there are toilets. Even though it's water, it's impure water. Missing a cut, like maybe you have an indentation to your house where there's a front door or something in that area of the house, a stove or any fire element like furnace, fireplace, electrical panel, hot water tank, etc. Any fire elements reduce the water element. And then also things that aren't organized, clutter. Northeast is, again, water, growth of spirituality, growth of material in your life, associated with water and space, kapha, a dosha, and the planet is Jupiter. So different types of cancer, brain tumors, liver cancer, and combinations of maybe the southeast imbalance and a northeast imbalance will cause some of these things. The imbalances are, again, toilets, missing corners, any fire element, and clutter. And a remedy could be adding some moving water like a fountain. Now, again, these are gross remedies. The remedies that I utilize are very subtle, and they're called yantras. Many of you may be familiar with yantras, but we'll go more deeply into that in a second. East is space and fire, the planet Sun, colon cancer, amongst some other things, toilets, missing corner cuts, indentations in A lot of architects love to create modulation, which makes, a square house can be very unappealing. So they have these cuts and missing corners to create interest, visual interest. But early on, I learned that this, and we'll talk more about this also creates some stress. Some energy gets stuck whenever you have a missing corner or an extension in a house. Okay, the southeast is fire, obviously, Pitta dosha, um, related to the planet Venus, ovarian, testicular cancer, kidney cancer, renal, bladder cancer, urinary or prostate cancer. Toilets or missing corners are some of the things that can create those imbalances, as well as clutter. South is Earth, fire. Mars is the planet. Leukemia, any kind of blood cancers, uterus cancer, endometriosis, and cuts and clutter. It would be the doshas there. Southwest is Earth element, again, how you support yourself. The Kapha dosha, the planetary node of the moon associated is Rahu, and bone cancers uh, also can be colon cancer there. Toilets, any fire or water elements there in the southwest reduce the earth element. So like toilets, missing corners, stoves, and lots of windows or doors also can cause reduction in the earth element. Plants would be one gross kind of remedy. And then the West is it's air and water. It's Saturn as the planet, colon and stomach cancer. Cuts or clutter would be the imbalances. And then in the very center, also toilets or stoves can create an imbalance in the space element. Also, if you have an attic or a basement with clutter, that can affect all the different areas as well. So there's really 7 different things that create environmental stress that can affect cancer. And I'm just going to go through these a little bit more deeply, but alignment, whether you're aligned to the cardinal directions or not, and I'll explain what that means in a minute. The placement of things like toilets and stoves and different things in your residence, the shape of your residence, whether you have doors or windows in the north and the east to receive the powerful solar magnetic energy, or lots of doors, or maybe you have an adjoining condo or a unit there, and there's no windows or doors in those directions, or you have lots of windows and doors in the southwest that leak the energy. Slope of the land, whether you have lots of clutter, and earth energies that they talk about in the Vedas. And modern times, it can be electromagnetic radiation. But they were also talking about underground streams, underground channels, fault lines, etc. So alignment. When you look at Google Maps and you pull up your address, you could see, this is just an example, a cul-de-sac. In a cul-de-sac, you'll have an east-facing house, or a west-facing house, or a north-facing house, but also you may have some houses that are not aligned to the cardinal directions. They face either northeast or northwest, or maybe southwest or southeast. So in Vastu, we tried to align a house that we're building from scratch, or a building, to the cardinal directions. That means the longitudinal and latitudinal lines. And the reason we do that is if you are aligned to the forces of nature and the cardinal directions, you get the support of nature. When the house is not aligned to the cardinal directions, it distorts the energy field, and it can affect our thinking and our decision making, and ultimately our health cancer, etc. Now, also, there are different rays that get created by the sun as it moves across this. It rises in the east and sets in the west. As it's rising, you get these ultraviolet rays, which are very life-supporting. And as it's directly overhead, you get infrared rays. And as it sets in the west, you get these gamma rays. These are not as life-supporting. So you'll see a lot of Vastu houses designed in such a way that there are less openings in the south and the west, more openings in the north and the east to receive the ultraviolet rays. So talking about the placement of items like stoves and fireplaces and toilets. So on the left, you'll see a rectangular shaped house. All the positive solar and magnetic energy comes in through the northeast, and it moves around and settles in the southwest to benefit people living or working in that environment. And if you have, for example, a stove in the northeast, this is fire reducing water. And so it affects your finances and different health issues that we'll talk about. And some of that energy gets stuck, creating anti-clockwise motion. Same thing with a fireplace or a toilet in the southwest. It's fire and water reducing earth element. Likewise, in the southeast, you have a toilet, water, reducing fire, affecting our health. So we utilize these, what we call energy correction devices. They're a certain frequency that moves stuck energy depending on where that energy gets stuck in your residence. We'll talk more about that. So, let's see here. So this is just an example. I have a lot of clients that are doing well and then they remodel and then they notice, either they lose their job or they have some financial difficulties or different things like that, or some health issues that come up. And the reason is, like, here's an example, they put in a new kitchen and the stove ended up being in the northeast. And so they had some financial issues, and they added a toilet in the southeast, and this created some health issues. So I'm always amazed how little things like that can make a difference. This is an example of a house where they added a whole, master bedroom wing, and it created a missing corner that, this was a pilot and a doctor, and his wife was a stewardess. And, before they did the remodel, no health issues. And then all of a sudden, with this missing southeast corner, he was diagnosed with diabetes and was told that he probably would have to go on dialysis, maybe a year or two after the remodel. And so we energetically separated the two different, the wing of the house from the main part of the house. And he did not have to go on dialysis. And with changing his eating habits, and Ayurveda was able to get it under control. But yeah, so lots of different things can affect um, our health in the house, including shape. So you see in a rectangular building on the left, it's perfectly rectangular, so the energy flows very freely, no energy gets stuck. Then you have a stream or a river, and maybe there's a bend in that river. What happens? Some of the water eddies, creates an anti-clockwise motion, stagnates and pollutes. And the same thing happens within the shape of a house. Maybe you have a garage that sticks out in the northwest, creates a missing corner in the northeast. And maybe you have a breakfast nook that sticks out in the southeast, creates a missing corner in the southwest. So every area of your life would be affected by this. So what we do in Vastu is we energetically separate these extensions from the main rectangle of the house so that no more energy is getting stuck. It's very simple. There's no remodeling involved, which can create more stress. So let's see. And then in terms of blocks and leaks, you see the diagram on the left, there's no openings there. Maybe it's a condo, like I said, or maybe it's even a house with a big hill there or another house right next to it. It's not receiving solar or magnetic energy for some reason. So we utilize these specific yantras that attract that missing solar magnetic energy and balance the five elements. And likewise, if you have lots of doors or windows in the south and the west, then some of that healing, prosperous energy is leaking out. So we can create energy barriers using yantras to keep the prosperous healing energy in the house. So clutter is common to feng shui. And lots of people say, oh, I know where everything is, even though it looks a little cluttered. But all the studies have shown that if you're more organized, you can be way more productive. And so depending on where that clutter is in your residence, this was like just something I noticed recently. In terms of how to get organized, you make three piles, one to keep, one, like take everything out of a drawer that's very cluttered. And you make one pile to keep, one pile to throw away, one pile to give away. And the keepers you put back in an organized fashion. So everybody notices when you do this, you get more energy, even if it's a drawer or a closet. And the reason is any clutter creates stress, stuck energy that affects our physiology. And this is just a diagram, if you haven't used it in 6 months, and then how do you determine whether you put it in one of those three piles? Let's see here. But so depending on where the clutter is, this is how it might affect any kind of illness, including cancer. So if you have clutter in the northwest, it can affect, your breasts and lungs, and then in the northeast, it can affect your finances and brain cancer. Southeast, it can affect kidney or ovarian or prostate types of cancer. And in the southwest, bone or colon cancer. So this is something simple. It's not actually simple, but a lot of people love to buy new things, but they don't like to let things go. So it's difficult for people to get organized. The next thing has to do with earth energies, and particularly we're going to talk about electromagnetic frequencies. My wife is very, very sensitive to EMFs, and for a long time, we live across the street from a park, and next to that park is a Boys and Girls Club. And they were building something on the roof. We couldn't figure out what it was. And lo and behold, when they finished it, my wife started getting all kinds of health issues, couldn't sleep well, lots of stress. And it turned out to be a 5G tower. And we have explored for many years remedies for 5G. And so we developed utilizing paramagnetic material, something that actually doesn't block EMFs, because if you block them completely, you won't get a reception on your phone or Wi-Fi at all. But it transforms the electromagnetic frequency into something that the body can handle. So this is one of many hundreds of tests that I've been involved in, where they'll expose somebody to 5 minutes of EMF on a phone, or standing next to a smart meter, or a router and measure the blood, they take a blood sample, and they see that the blood the cells in the blood start to clump. And this is an indication of cancer, and it actually damages DNA. And then after utilizing one of our devices, we have a pendant that you can wear or a USB plug that you plug into any outlet in your house that changes the wiring and so that it'll protect you from 5G. And then we also have these little stickers for the phone. But this is where the blood stops clumping and the cells begin to separate. This is on the right, that's what your blood cells should look like. And so basically, EMFs are incoherent waves that can change your DNA expression and cause cancer. And what the devices do is transform the incoherent waves into coherent waves that the body can handle. And these are what they look like. Basically, it's a pendant that is a locket that contains this paramagnetic material. And then also the USB contains the paramagnetic material. Yeah, so those are that. And let's see. So how does Vastu work? What we do is we identify where energy is getting stuck in your house, and then find a way to get that stuck energy to start moving again. So basically, it's just like you go to a chiropractor or someone who understands how energy moves in your body. We get a MARMA treatment or etc. So they can tell by maybe your symptoms where energy is getting stuck, what meridian, what MARMA point is where the energy is getting stuck. And then they use MARMA massage or acupuncture needles or chiropractic adjustment to get that stuck energy to start moving again. And we do it in your residence by utilizing yantras to, just like an acupuncture needle, to locate where the energy is getting stuck and get that energy to start moving again. And it's based on this quote by Einstein. Everything is energy, and if you can match the frequency of the reality you want, you cannot help but get that reality. And the yantras are what match the frequency of where all 5 elements are in balance in your environment. Let's see here. And so we utilize these 5 elements in such a way to balance you utilize these yantras. Now, these are just some examples of 100 different yantras that we use in Vastu. And you can see that most of the yantras that we utilize have 9 squares with a Sanskrit number in each square that add up horizontally, vertically, and diagonally to a certain coefficient of a certain frequency. And that frequency is what we use, these numerical frequencies, to move the stuck energy, to balance, if the house is not aligned to the cardinal directions, if the shape is not right, if there's leaks or blocks or the slope of the land. Ideally, on the slope of the land, you want to slope down to the northeast so you receive more of the solar magnetic energy. And up in the southwest to hold that energy and not let it leak out. So if the land slopes in the opposite direction, we have certain yantra remedies that we bury in the ground that change the balance of the slope of the land, basically. Let's see here. So there was this scientist, Dr. Hans Jenny, and he invented this apparatus called the tonoscope. And it started out very simple. It looks much more complicated in this picture here, but it was basically 2 copper plates with a wire in between. attached to a microphone. And on the upper copper plate would be some crystals. And as you would utter some sound in the microphone, the copper plates would start to vibrate and the crystals would start to move around. And one of his famous experiments is where they were chanting Om, and the crystals would start to make these triangular shapes and circular shapes, much like a Sri yantra, which is many of you probably have seen this yantra. It's one of the most common yantras. Um, and yeah, so sound equals form in Sanskrit, especially. That's the beauty of the Sanskrit language. It's no other language even comes close, maybe Finnish a little bit, but yeah, sound and form are the same. And that's why, yeah, Sanskrit is ways so powerful. Let's do a very, very short meditation just to get acquainted with the 5 elements in your body. So you can just close your eyes, relax your shoulders, spine is erect. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe out, just let go of all the stress of the day. Take another deep breath in. As you let go, bring your awareness to your flesh and bones. These are part of the earth element in the body. And just by bringing your awareness to the flesh and bones in the body, you can bring the earth element into balance. Feel the stability that comes when that earth element is in balance. You're very grounded, rooted like a tree, able to withstand all the challenges that life brings your way. Earth element is also related to the base chakra and the planet Saturn. Take another deep breath in. And as you breathe out, become aware of the blood rushing through your veins. Our body is 70% fluids. And just by bringing your awareness to the fluids in the body, you can bring the water element into balance. Feel the flexibility and fluidity that comes when the water element is in balance in the body. You feel you can withstand all the challenges that life brings your way if you're not so rigid, more flexible. The water element is also related to the sex chakra and the planet Jupiter. Take another deep breath in. As you breathe out, bring your awareness to the warmth in your body. Without the warmth and the light of the sun, there would be no life on this planet. Just by bringing your awareness to the warmth, you bring the fire element into balance. Feel that vitality, that powerful energy that comes when that fire element is in balance. It's also related to the planet Mars and the navel chakra. One more time, take a deep breath in. As you breathe out, become aware of the air element, the air moving out of your lungs. The surface of the earth is covered by about a mile radius of air, the same air that we breathe in and out. And just by bringing your awareness to the air element, you bring the left and right hemispheres of the brain into balance and you feel more at peace. Air element is related to the heart chakra and the planet Venus. Once again, take a deep breath in. As you breathe out, become aware of the space in your mind. All the planets and stars are embedded in space, the same space that's in your mind. And just by bringing your awareness to that space in the body, you can bring the space element into balance. We spend most of our time thinking about things that happened in the past, regretting things in the past, or planning things for the future, feeling anxious about the future. By bringing your awareness to the space element in your mind, you can anchor yourself in the present moment. This is where true joy and bliss abide. Feel that joy and bliss, bring a big, big smile to your face. Space element is also associated with your throat chakra and the planet Mercury. Now become aware of who's actually perceiving in this moment and all moments into eternity. It's not your body. Your body is not eternal. It is not your mind. Thoughts come and go. They are not eternal. It is the eternal light of consciousness within you that is perceiving in this moment and all moments into eternity. Become aware of that light of consciousness as a point in the center of your chest, brighter than 1,000 suns, and allow that light of consciousness to expand and radiate, filling all of Florida and the United States, and allow it to connect with all the other lights of the other beings on this planet. In truth, we are all one light, all made of the same 5 elements. Whenever anything on this earth is harmed, we all feel it. I'm just going to do a short chant for peace on the planet. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Punaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasmirnavadiptamastu Mavivishabhai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. With a big, big smile, in your own time, you can slowly, gradually open your eyes. So just a couple other things here. Spending more time in certain areas of the house can affect the doshas. Since Northwest is associated with Vata, it can aggravate Vata if you're sleeping in the Northwest. Likewise, if you're Pitta, if you're sleeping in the Southeast, it can aggravate your Pitta, whereas it'll pacify the Kapha. And if you're sleeping in the Southwest and you're Pitta or Vata, this will pacify that dosha. Couple tips. The direction you sleep affects your health, not just your mental health, but all kinds of illnesses. Been involved in lots of studies in hospitals, or 3 studies for sure, in hospitals where there have 50 patients recovering from similar surgery. 25 will have their headboards to the north or north wall. 25 will have their headboards to the south. The patients with their headboards to the south had longer and more REM cycles, improved blood flow, circulation, digestion, and were recovering with less complications from the surgery than the patients with their headboards to the north. The reason this occurs is positive magnetic energy comes from the north. Our body is a magnet, positive polarities in the head. So it's like bringing 2 positive ends of magnets together. What happens? They repel. So if you can sleep in any direction except for northwest, northeast, or north, it will give you deeper sleep over time. If you can't move your bed, try sleeping on the other end of the bed. The other thing is you can be more productive if you face north or east while you study, work, meditate, do something creative. I've been involved in 2 studies where they have 100 kids, similar IQ, divided into 4 groups facing the 4 directions. The kids that faced north or east were producing an alpha rhythm, and they did about 20% better on the test. The kids that faced south or west were producing a beta wave and couldn't concentrate or focus as well as the kids facing north and east. Another part of the test showed that the kids that faced north did better on the math, the left brain part of the test. Something about that magnetic energy supports left brain activity. And the kids that face east did better on the creative part of the test, something about the solar energy supports the right brain activity. So now I'm just going to shift a little bit into Jyotish. It's the roadmap for your health. And just a few things. We are light, especially Ayurveda consultants, you are light workers. We are all light workers, and some of us are just learning more about what we came here to do. We are light beings that vibrate a certain frequency. We come in with some dark spaces that block our light due to past karma and trauma. Early on, we start to learn that I am Michael, I am separate, and I have an ego. And my mother had certain opinions about things I did, and I got attached to those. And people and things can block our light. The more conscious we are, the more light that we reflect until we are fully enlightened. The frequency of your karma vibrates in resonance with the frequency of a planet that gives us certain lessons to learn and talents to share. And Vedic medical astrology shines light on your karma, on your chart, so that you don't have multiple health issues by showing where the planets are operating and how they're operating and when they're operating and what you can do to remedy a weak planet in your chart that might be affecting certain health tendencies. So every question about health can be answered from your birth chart and the transit charts. I'm not going to go through this. This is kind of a little bit detailed on how we determine how the planets are affecting our health and how they affect cancer, different types of cancer related to different organs in the body. All these planets in different combinations kind of affect the health. And I don't have time to go into detail with that. But basically, every different type of cancer is related to a certain issue in a certain house, one of your houses in your chart, and a planet. And it's probably because that planet is afflicted or weak for some reason, and there are ways to strengthen those planets. Now, here's just a couple of charts that represent, how this happens. So Ruth Bader Ginsburg's chart, her birth chart showed a weak sun, and that is affecting accidents, a weak Mercury that affects the autoimmune system, and it's ruling the 12th house. And her cancer was diagnosed during a Rahu period. Rahu is associated with cancer, or can be, in a chart, without going into a lot of detail. Let's see. Here's another chart for Christina Applegate, who's an actress, and her birth chart also shows, different weak planets affecting Mercury, which can affect the nervous system, and MS. And breast cancer was Mars was afflicting Moon in her chart. Moon is associated with the breasts. And it was during a Venus subperiod. And Venus is ruling the house of health, the 7th sign. So I'm going to try to wrap this up so there's a little bit of time for questions. I think it's good to have some knowledge of Vastu, some knowledge of astrology, but things you can ask your clients about, the direction they're sleeping, the direction they face when they're working. If there's clutter in certain areas of the house and how that might be affecting their health. If the residence is not aligned to the cardinal directions, they're missing corners, their stove is not in the right place, etc., then it's good to suggest maybe a Vastu consultation. Very simply, these days, I used to travel to Florida and all parts of the world to do Vastu, but these days I find I can help more people. People just send me a rough sketch of their floor plan. I can tell where the energy is getting stuck and send them the remedies. Let's see here. Yeah. Yeah, again, it's it was really designed to have all three of these sister sciences to diagnose and to provide remedies. So maybe in Ayurveda, you provide certain herbs, people get better, but because the environment is still having stress and their chart is still having stress, that, these healthy issues crop up again. So it's good to have a holistic approach. Yeah, reducing stress in the mind and the body through Ayurveda remedies, to reducing stress in the home and the work environment through Vastu, and reducing your karma by Jyotish remedies. And here is a free book. Let's see here. That I'm offering. Let's see, wait a second. And here's 3 books my brilliant, beautiful wife wrote on Vastu. But here, you can scan this code to get that free book on Vastu, ebook, or you can just copy this URL. And yeah, I'd like to open it up to questions. And anybody who wants a Vastu consult or a Jyotish reading, either Vedic medical or just a regular Jyotish reading, I'm offering 20% off, or 15% off, and just use the code V15 when you go to our website, vastucreations.com. So there's that. Any questions?
There are some questions, Michael, and that was fascinating. I know we could have talked for another 10 hours.
Sure. It's hard to cover everything in an hour, but we got a good idea.
No, it was great. And there were some questions. Rupali and Brandy, I think both had questions. If you want to just go ahead and unmute yourself and ask Michael, go ahead. We can't hear either one of you. Oh, Rupali wants me to read it. Okay, sure. Okay. So Rupali's question was having to do with significance of cathedral ceilings and the direction of fireplaces, including a non-functional fireplace.
So non-functional fireplace doesn't cause much issue. It is heavy, though. If it was in the north or the east, we try to keep lighter, less heavy things in the north or east to not block the solar and the magnetic radiation. So it is heavy, so it does affect things a little bit, even if you're not using it. But if you are using the fireplace, it's fire reducing water if it's in the north, northeast, or east. If it's in the southeast or northwest, fire and air are friendly, it's perfect. If it's in the southwest, as I said before, fire reduces earth, which affects your career and your support in life. See, the other part of that question was cathedral ceilings. So the sloping ceilings in an area where you're spending a lot of time, like a bedroom, if you have a sloping ceiling that comes down towards your head, this creates some pressure on the head while you're sleeping. It's an easy correction to make. We energetically create a flat ceiling above you. So that slope, or if you have beams in the ceiling, this can cut your energy while you're sleeping. I have lots of people that come to me and they're having stress in their relationship. They have a beam going right down the center of the bed. So, or knee problems, the beams are running the other direction. So although those things are possible and easy to correct, I hope I answered the question.
Yes, and they both have texted me saying they're both have a cold or a cough. So I'll go ahead and read their questions.
Sure.
If indentations and cuts create imbalances, do projections do that as well?
Yeah, it's basically if you have a projection, it creates a missing corner. So it's like in that one example I showed where the garage sticks out in the northwest, creating a missing corner in the northeast, and the breakfast room is projecting in the southeast, creating a missing corner in the southwest. Then every area of your life, relationships, health, finances, and career are all affected. Energy is getting stuck in every different area. So, you know, you'll read somewhere in some Vastu book or something, if you have a projection to the northeast, it'll bring more prosperity. But what does that projection do? It creates either a missing corner in the southeast, which will affect your health, or a missing corner in the northwest, which will affect your relationships. So yeah, rectangular is better. I see Ivan there. He's one of my students. We also teach Vastu to lots of Ayurvedic students, as well as Vedic medical astrology. So there's that as well, if anyone is interested.
Very much so. Um, there's also another question, just real quick. Would stairs create an imbalance depending on their location, or are they not that significant?
Okay, so depends on where you, well, what your stairs are made of. In India, all the stairs are mostly concrete. And so it's very heavy. So if it's in the center, it will affect the space element. Or if it's in the northeast or or the east, it's going to affect the prosperity and the health. Um, Stairs are good towards the southwest. We can have heavier items there. South is okay. West is okay as well. So yes, but in the West, most of our stairs are made of wood, and it's much lighter. So the effect is much less, not as much of a problem. In fact, I do design houses we want to keep in Vastu the center of your house very open where the space element is. In fact, having a skylight or a clear story above there really circulates the energy throughout the house. So if you had a stair well there, it's open, that makes it open to the first floor and to the second floor. So it can be a good thing and as well. Long explanation.
Michael, we have someone on tonight. Annette, do you know Michael? I don't know if, Annette, if you could introduce yourself. Annette has been studying Jyotish for, I think, the last, I want to say 4 or 5 years.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
And
Yeah, I just to clarify, the type of Jyotish that I teach and do is a little bit different from the traditional Jyotish, and there are just, you know, I've been doing it since the late 60s, and I've just explored all kinds of Jyotish schools of thought, and just through trial and error, and I found what seems to give the most direct predictions in terms of, especially in Vedic medical astrology and remedies. So anyway, just to know, might be a little bit different what I teach than what some of you have learned. Any other questions?
I thought Annette was on the call, and I don't know if she dropped off. I see her.
Yeah, it's
Maybe
okay.
I have. Maybe I have to do an unmute. I'm not sure.
She should be able to unmute herself.
I would, so,
Maybe
and
she walked away, you know, she had to
yeah,
deal with something.
she's trying to pull the toilet out of the wrong area of her house right now.
Yeah,
I'd like to introduce myself. My name's Julia Mader, and my husband and I own Rasayana Cove Ayurvedic Retreat in
Oh,
Central Florida. It's about an hour from Sarasota. Our
okay,
main building is actually a Vastu house, and
wonderful.
I'm delighted. There are 25 acres on the property, so there is flowing water. There's a large pond. And the main entrance to the house does face east. We did that deliberately. There's a
Wonderful.
second story. The first floor and the second floor are all open, and in the up, it's a cupola with 24 windows. So light comes in that way. On the outside of the building is a very large porch because Florida gets hurricanes.
Yeah.
And so the windows, the doors are protected, and we don't get direct sun coming from the east, but we do get the morning sun, of course. So I
Okay.
just wanted to mention this to the Florida folk. Rasayana Cove Ayurvedic Retreat, and we started there in 1994.
Wow.
And actually, our teacher, Dr. Robert Svoboda, has been a great assistant in our construction of the main house.
how
Wonderful.
cool.
Yeah, I
Thank
think he wrote a book on Vastu, didn't he? Or I'm not sure.
Yes, he did write a book on Vastu.
Yes.
Robert Svoboda, yeah.
Yes, yes. Oh, it's wonderful to hear that you have such a beautiful place. Makes a
Thank you.
difference.
Yes, Julie.
Thanks.
Actually, Robert Svoboda should also be a stand-up comedian. He's so entertaining whenever he
Very,
speaks.
very entertaining. Yes, he is. I've been on certain conferences where he's a speaker as well.
Well, Michael, we are going to respect everyone's time and including yours. We are just so grateful that you joined the Sunshine State tonight from San Diego area, Carlsbad, and another sunny state. But we really appreciate it, and I wonder if anyone has any questions before we go that could be answered very briefly. Go ahead and speak up, or if you want to introduce yourself, you're welcome to do that. And if not,
People are willing. You know, my email is at the top, michaelmastervastu@gmail.com. So if you have a question, don't be afraid to shoot me an email. So as well.
well, thank you. And I hope that you kind of stay attached to Florida. We plan on having a conference if you ever want to come out. Of course, this might be in August when you're not wanting to be in the humidity, but we'll stay in touch with you. You were fascinating. Thank you very much.
Yeah, any kind of a situation like that, I'm willing to do it. If you can do it on Zoom, it's even a little bit better for me than traveling. But yeah, I'm open to it. And you mentioned this National Consortium of Ayurvedic Medicine. If you know, I know, I think I saw Rupali was there, or Parna was there. If they need a guest speaker, I'm happy to do it as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. And everyone, thank you for joining us. Everyone have a great night and stay healthy.
All right, take care.
Thank you very much. Good night. Namaste.
Namaste.